Welcome to my review of Kero Blaster for the PlayStation 4. Now this is a great fun little game. It's really colourful, it's great fun to play, the controls are really well done, the shooting mechanics are really good, it combines platforming and shooting. It's what you call a run and gun game, and I love this style of game. And the guy that made this game, he goes by the name of Pixel. Well, he's actually a Japanese guy, and his name is, well, I'll try and pronounce it, Daisuke Amaya. Probably got that wrong. But as I said, he goes by the name Pixel, so I'll just refer to him as Pixel from now on. And not only did he create Kero Blaster, but he's also created Cave Story. You may have heard of that. It's a really popular indie game that was free on Windows. If you haven't played Cave Story, then I definitely encourage you to give it a go. If you've got a Windows PC, it doesn't have to be a modern PC, just any old PC will probably run it, because it's not a demanding game. You can download it for free, and that will give you a real taster of what Kero Blaster is all about. Pixel loves this style of game, I do too. Some of my favourite games are run and gun games. I remember playing Metal Slug and Contra back in the 80s and 90s, and I still love those games now. And this game style is still popular today. People still love playing this type of game. There's a game called Cuphead out that's really done very well, and that's on the Microsoft Xbox platform. Unfortunately, it's not available for PS4. I wish it was. I'll definitely buy that. You know, hopefully Cuphead will make it to the PS4 one day. But in the meantime, we've got Kero Blaster. This game actually came out in 2014 on Windows, so it's been around a while. And I bought it back then. I paid about $7.99 for it. I bought it from the Playism store. That's a distributor that specialises in indie developers or indie games, and it helps indie developers. It helps Pixel with translating the game to different languages, you know, localization work, and just helped him to distribute the game. So I definitely support Playism. I've only actually bought Kero Blaster from them, but it's good that they're there and helping indie developers. Now, I actually played Cave Story and loved it, and I played it for hours and hours, and it was completely free. And when I heard he was making Kero Blaster, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to support him. And he's actually gave up his day job. When he did Cave Story, it took him about 5 years to do Cave Story, and at the time he had a day job, and you know, he's a family man, he had a family as well. So to do a game like Cave Story, even 5 years is a long time, but it's still a huge achievement. And he gave up his job to sort of concentrate on game development. So hopefully Kero Blaster is successful for him, because I really hope that he makes more games and that he makes enough money that he can continue to do that and support his family. So I was quite happy to pay $9.99 for the PS4 version, because you know, I just love the game and I wanted to play it on my PS4. You might think, why are you playing such an old sort of 8-bit looking game on your PS4? Well, it's fun. It's so much fun to play. That's why I wanted to play it. I actually had it, as I say, on Windows, but then when Microsoft stopped supporting Vista, I sort of went over to using Linux. But pretty much the only thing I really missed was being able to play Kero Blaster. So when I saw it was available in the PS4, I bought it straight away. Now the game actually got a significant upgrade in 2015. It's got an overtime mode that's been added. It's called Zhang Yu. I suppose that's Japanese for overtime mode. And it's a remix of the original game. Well, it's more than that. It's adding new graphics, new bosses and enemy design, enemy layout, new music. There's even a new sort of story to it. Because one of the things Pixel likes to put in his games is actual stories. There's little characters, and it's just a bit of fun. The actual main story to Kero Blaster is there's a company called Cat and Frog. You may have noticed the main protagonist in the game is a frog. And as I said, it's just fun. It's just a fun game. But Cat and Frog make teleportation devices, and there's a problem. There's something wrong with the devices, and you have to go and eradicate the sort of black blobs that are growing everywhere to make the devices work again. But in the overtime mode, there's this work producing machine, and it creates all this work that you have to deal with. There's even a salesman that comes around trying to sell you a work producing machine, and the cat, one of the things the cat says is, oh, that will come in handy if we haven't got anything to do. So it's just little funny little things like that make you laugh when you're playing the game, and there's definitely a story to it, and you find out what's going on as you play the game. I won't spoil it for you. Now you may think Kero Blaster is a bit of a strange name for a game. Why isn't it called Frog Blaster? Because obviously the main character is a frog. You might think that Kero is actually Japanese for frog, but it isn't. Kero is actually the sort of Japanese word for the sound a frog makes. So I suppose a more accurate sort of full English translation would be Croak Blaster or something like that. That's just a little tidbit of information for you there. Now with any platforming game, the controls are crucial. It has to feel as if you have enough control over the character to negotiate the trickier platforming sections. Now gravity has been coded into the game, so there's a nice movement, there's a nice momentum to the character. He can't stop on a dime. He definitely has sort of a weight to him, which I like, but it isn't too floaty. You don't overshoot too much, so you do have that precision you need. I used my standard PlayStation 4 to capture this video footage, but it doesn't give a true representation of just how silky smooth the gameplay is and just how responsive it is, because the footage is only 30 frames a second, but the game actually runs at 60 frames a second, and I think that's essential for this kind of game. Now the gun controls are really intuitive. Just move in the direction you want to fire and then hold down the fire button, and that locks the gun in that direction, and then you can jump around dodging projectiles and doing your platforming. Now when you kill some enemies, they drop coins, and you can use this currency in the shop to buy upgrades to your weapons and also health items as well. You can buy hearts, and the hearts allow you to take more hits. Now as you progress through the game and kill the mini bosses and main bosses, you will unlock new weapons as well, and they're quite distinct. There's a bubble gun that is good for vertical levels. The bubbles sort of fall down and you can kill enemies below you as you're progressing downwards, and it's also good in the water levels, can be handy. There is a flamethrower that's good on the ice levels for melting obstacles and killing enemies. Now a great thing about the coins is it's kind of a self-adjusting difficulty level, because if you find a particular section difficult, you keep playing it to try and beat that section, and obviously you're learning the movement of the enemies and the enemy placement, but also you're acquiring more coins, and these coins keep allowing you to upgrade, so you are getting more powerful weapons, and eventually you'll get to a point where you can actually defeat whatever is actually causing you problems. Now the final boss is actually quite tricky. You all need to be fully sort of upgraded for the last boss. It took me quite a few attempts to defeat it, but definitely stick with it, it's worth it, because then you unlock the Zhang Yu mode, or the overtime mode. I think Zhang Yu is probably Japanese for overtime, that's what I'm assuming anyway. And when you've finished the overtime mode, you can then go and play the OMAC mode, which is the hard mode. So there's lots of replayability in the game. Pixel is a bit of a one-man band. He does like to do everything himself. That is certainly true with Cave's story, but with Kero Blaster he actually got in someone to help him. He got a lady, her name is Kyoko Kawanaka, I hope I've said that somewhat correctly, and she worked alongside him and did the level design, and she did a really great job. Now making a computer game can be quite a lonely experience, and having someone to work alongside you can really help you keep motivated, and that was certainly the case with Kero Blaster. Another thing I like about Pixel's games is the way he introduces the different elements of the game to you. There isn't a tutorial as such, but the early levels are really designed to teach you the mechanics of the game. Now Kero Blaster is a single player game, there isn't a co-op option. As well as being available on Windows and PlayStation 4, Kero Blaster is also available on the Apple Store for iOS So you can play it on an Apple mobile phone. Apparently the controls are really well implemented. A lot of people are put off buying sort of platform games for mobiles because the control systems can be a bit cumbersome. But Pixel apparently has done a great job. If you fancy playing Kero Blaster on the go, then definitely check that out. Now that 8-bit graphic style isn't to everyone's tastes. I do appreciate that. I did grow up in the 80s playing 8-bit games, so I have a sort of nostalgic view of them. But there is a real skill, a real art to doing low-res graphics. I don't know if you can imagine trying to do a graphic with only 16 by 16 pixels. You can imagine a grid 16 by 16 of squares and colouring them in one at a time. That is kind of a very restrictive format to work in. Trying to get character into sprites that are only 8 by 8 or 16 by 16 pixels, there's a real skill to that. Now of course, doing the sort of 8-bit graphic style does mean that he can do a lot more graphics himself a lot quicker because they are more sort of basic and rudimentary. But as I said, you do need a lot of skill to do it. Don't underestimate how much work's gone into the graphics in Kero Blaster. There is a little pink blob character that's one of my favourite characters in the game. Quite a funny little character. It's actually a lady office worker, although you can't really tell that from looking at the graphic. I suppose because she's pink, that tells you it's a female. Now there is a demo for Kero Blaster. It's actually called Pink Hour, and that demo is only available on Windows, unfortunately. I did look in the PlayStation Store and I couldn't see Pink Hour in there. There is also Pink Heaven as well, another sort of little demo for Kero Blaster. Pink Hour and Pink Heaven aren't actually levels from Kero Blaster. It's kind of like a little taster of the game. So it's worth actually playing them. And there are hard modes to these little demos as well that are really tough and really will test your platforming skills. Now Pink Heaven was kind of the demo for the upgraded version of Kero Blaster. When the overtime mode was added to the game, that's when Pink Heaven came out to promote that. Now I don't know why Pink Hour or Pink Heaven are not available in the PlayStation Store as a demo for Kero Blaster. I think they should have done that. Now because the graphics are very low resolution, they do look kind of blocky, and that's kind of the charm of it, I suppose. But one thing I would have thought would have been implemented was some sort of scanline mode, because these old games used to be played on old cathode ray tube televisions. They were sort of a vacuum tube with an electron beam in, and that would scan the image onto the sort of phosphorus front of the vacuum tube. Now I'm talking old technology here. Obviously we've all got flat screen LCD displays these days, but the interlaced pictures gave you a sort of scanline effect. There was like a little gap between each row of pixels, if you like, and it did make the graphics look less blocky and give a sort of a unique look. And there are actually emulators online that emulate this look, and also the tube had what's called pincushion effect. The electron beam would slow down before it made another pass, and so you'd get compression at the edges of the screen. That gave another unique look to the picture, and of course you don't get that with an LCD screen. Emulating that would have been pretty cool, so some scanline effects would have been appreciated. That's the only thing I would have liked to have seen in Kero Blaster that's not there. Later on in the game you pick up a little thruster pack that gives you like a double jump, which is really nice. It takes a bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it really helps you on the platforming sections. And there's also a little coat that you can pick up, and that lets you take an extra hit. Now Pixel created all the 8-bit sounding music for the game as well. It fits the visuals perfectly and it comes up with some really nice little tunes. He even done the software that he used to create the tunes. Now it really does amaze me With so few pixels and frames of animation, how much character that Pixel's got into his graphics. This game, you can tell, really is a labour of love, just like Cave Story. Pixel really puts so much work and attention to detail into all of the graphics he does. Now you might ask, why would you play such a basic 8-bit looking game on such a powerful machine like the PlayStation 4? Well, I love playing AAA games. I love playing Uncharted 4 and Horizon Zero Dawn and more recently God of War, but I like variety when I'm playing games. I don't want to play those sort of games all the time. It really is a breath of fresh air playing something more minimalistic, more simplistic. It's just pure gameplay fun, and there is a skill to run and gun games. There's a lot going on with them, and I do like skill-based games. As you can tell, I really love this little indie game, and I hope I've encouraged you to give it a go. I really think that Pixel deserves all the support he gets. It's definitely worth the asking price of $9.99. As I say, if you're not sure if it's for you, if you can try Cave Story and give that a go. I really hope this game is successful and Pixel gets to do more games and he can make a living at what he's doing. I'm really looking forward to whatever he does next. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.